Hi guys and welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a review on the book Black Heart by Anna-Lou Weatherley. I'm really glad to be sitting down and doing a book review rather than sort of like a run through videos, which my past two videos have been, but I hope you really enjoyed those two videos. I thought because I've just recently read this book and because it just came out, so it came out on the 31st of January, I thought I would just talk about it because it's quite new and maybe it will encourage some of you to read it. I am going to talk about the book in depth, so there are going to be spoilers, so if you are planning on reading the book and don't want to know what happens in it, stop watching now. Anna-Lou Weatherley, I actually came across her because I read a lot of her romance novels, and then I saw that she was releasing this book and I just wanted to pre-order because I really liked her romance novels. I don't really read a lot of thriller books, it's just not my taste, not the genre I'm really into, but I thought I'd give it a go. So yeah, she's transitioned from writing romance novels to writing thriller novels. The book is about Detective Dan, who obviously is a detective, and the book actually starts off with us seeing the killer, and she's quite clearly a high-class prostitute or a hooker, or she's pretending to be one, I'm not really sure. And it starts off where she murders her first victim. Straight off the bat you sort of see like what the story's going to be about. So he calls her Goldilocks, she calls him Daddy Bear, so we're looking at something to do with a fairy tale. With no explanation, she sleeps with the victim and then proceeds to kill him with like some arsenic infected chocolate. You're not really sure what's happening and then you realise, oh okay, because you see like the writer writing about him getting tired and sort of slumping and you're like okay, then you realise she's going to kill him and then she makes it look like a suicide. So straight away we have our killer, and then it flips over, so it's told between like the point of view of Detective Dan, and then I'm pretty sure it's not told from the point of view of the killer, who her name, she has several different names in the book, so her name is Rebecca, Danny Joe, and then Florence. It's not told from her point of view. So yeah, then the book flips into talking from Detective Dan's point of view, and we learn very quickly on that he lost his girlfriend about 2 years ago. She was pregnant with his kid, neither of them actually knew, and he's just still dealing with that grief. He's just decided recently to get back into online dating. He's still really good at his job, obviously really enjoys his job. So he's called in to this crime scene murder, quickly realises that actually this isn't a suicide and this is actually a murder meant to look like a suicide. So there we have our story. So we follow back to Rebecca, who's now going under the alias of Danny Joe. She's just come back to her flat and she realises there's a woman standing at the top of her door who is actually her new sort of neighbour, and she's locked out of her flat. Makes friends with her, lets her stay in her flat. Stay in her flat while the locksmith comes for that day, befriends her and sort of goes, ding, this could be my next victim. Meanwhile, Danny Joe / Rebecca is also online dating, as is Detective Dan. You see where this is going, right? Danny Joe, Rebecca meets and speaks to Detective Dan online, and you know, they decide to arrange to meet. When Detective Dan decides to meet her, he doesn't say what his job is. He feels like whenever he tells people that he's a detective or he's in the police force, that it really puts women off, so he says he's an architect. I'm not really sure what Danny Joe says she is, but also online she goes by the alias of Florence Williams. So to him, he knows her as Florence. So I'm not really sure, no, she says she's an actor, and that's what she tells a lot of people, that she's an actress, but she's in like acting school. So they talk, they get on. He's finding that since Rachel, his ex-girlfriend, died, he hasn't really found another woman that's quite like her. I thought the book was really sweet. He was obviously clearly really devoted to her. I mean, he sort of prattled on about her way too much, but you know, I guess that's grief for you. Florence and Dan enjoy their date. They seem to really enjoy each other's company. So back into sort of Danny Joe's world, I guess, because now that's the alias she's going by. So let's forget Rebecca. We now have Danny Joe and just Florence. She's really befriending her neighbour, who she calls Kizzy, and her neighbour has a cat, so she poisons the cat with arsenic, and then the woman comes back home, realises her cat is dead, and thinks it's her ex-husband because she's a recent divorcee, and the husband apparently was really abusive. She calls the police come to visit Danny Joe, and Danny Joe is just a bit like, whoa, all of this for a cat. She plays it safe with the police that come to her house, but as they're leaving, one of them mentions that they'll be looking at the CCTV, and then this is something that Danny Joe didn't know, that there's actually a secret camera in their hallway. So she says she's never been into the house, even though she has a spare key, so by them looking at the CCTV they're going to realise she was lying and she's probably killing cats. So she hatches a plan. Meanwhile, she's gone on, like, I think a second date with Dan, or she might have been planning a second date with Detective Dan. So the plan she hatches is to go downstairs, flirt with the security guy, poison him with arsenic. Actually, I don't think it's arsenic. She poisons him with something that allows him to just knock out for a bit. She deletes the part of the tape that shows her going into the apartment and then leaves. Meanwhile, like a bit before that actually, she has also decided that she's going to kill Kizzy, her neighbour. So she kills her neighbour, like sort of drugs her. So she kills the neighbour and leaves. So I actually told the previous sequence of events wrong. She kills the neighbour, then goes down to drug the guy below, the security guy below. So yeah, she kills the neighbour. I think Kizzy puts up a little bit of a fight, which she's really upset about. But there you go, there's her mummy bear killed. So obviously the next person she needs to kill is Baby Bear. So after she's committed these two sort of crimes, she rents out her flat and then goes to sort of move in, I guess, into a really small temporary flat and finds a job as a nanny. Meanwhile, she's still seeing Detective Dan. I think they've just been texting. It just seems from the book that they only had about 3 or 4 dates. So she's looking after this kid now. Really likes the kid, but obviously this is the end to her sort of fairy tale killing. Whilst all of this is going on, the detectives and like the police force have, you know, they've worked through the crime. They are now alerted to the crime of Kizzy, and the security guard tells them about sort of what happened with Danny Joe and how it was really weird. I think they speak to the realtor or the sort of property owner, and the property owner says, yeah, this is the name of the person who owns it, and I actually have a photo ID. So it's at this point you're like, oh my god, like what's going to happen? So obviously they see the photo and Detective Dan realises, oh my god, this person is Florence Williams. There's the shock, there's the oh my god moment. He doesn't share the fact that he's been dating the serial killer with anyone, which, fine, fair enough. And then it transpires that they look into her history. I think her real name is actually Rebecca. They look into her history and see that she was in like a kid's mental institute. Go speak to the doctor, and just the doctor or her psychologist tells them about the sort of horrific life she's had, basically saying that this girl is like a sociopath or a psychopath. I don't want to use the terms interchangeably because I'm pretty sure they're different. So they basically find out she had a really traumatic childhood, which was like full of abuse, and it was just really awful. So now they know who they're dealing with. They just need to find her and obviously find the baby. Between that time, Detective Dan messages her and is like, hey Florence, do you want to meet? Obviously knowing that she's a killer. She says, hey Dan, yeah, that's fine, let's meet. Let me just kill this baby and then I'm on my way. So you found out that her plan is obviously to kill the baby, but that's not what she does. Well, you're really unclear as to if she does or doesn't. So she goes out to eat with Detective Dan, they're just talking and things like that. And then he's called for backup and just said to like one of his team, like, can you just wait outside the restaurant? Florence is, or no, well, Rebecca is going to be there and we're going to arrest her. Doesn't give any more details than that. Obviously by this point the tension is building. You're like, is she going to run out? Does she know? Like, what's going to happen? Are those the police going to run in and just like point guns at her? None of that happens. They're having a really nice meal and then I think he says like, oh, do you want to get out of here? And she's like, yes, just 1 second, like I'm just going to go to the toilet and I'll come back. She comes back out and she's like, okay, Detective Dad, are you ready? And it's at this point that you realise she knows who she is. So then the next scene is she gets arrested, gets taken to the police cell, gets taken to custody. They find out that the baby is safe, there's nothing wrong with the baby. They talk and they say to her, you know, we know about your traumatic childhood, like sort of we know why you did this, X, Y, Z. And then I guess they're just trying to talk about like maybe motives, but now I think about it, like, it's silly because they know why. They know like she's, you know, clinically, but she's a bit insane and obviously she's committed crimes. And then it transpires that actually she's really ill. The Detective Dan then notices that actually she's changing colour, and it turns out that while she was in the bathroom in the restaurant she took arsenic, so she kills herself and she dies in police custody. And that is the end of the story. Now, my thoughts on this were like, what? For me, I think I really like this book. So for me, reading it as a thriller, I was tearing through those pages because I really wanted to find out what happened. I think that's one thing I do like about thrillers, like it really keeps you intrigued. I think I read this book in like a day and a half because like I really needed to know what happened. So that was good, that was great. Like, I was really into the book, it really kept me gripped, it was really thrilling in that aspect. However, I think the downfall came for me a lot. One, I hated the way Dan kept prattling on about his ex-wife. Like, I get it, it's really sad, but I don't know, it annoyed me. I hated this sort of annoying focus on the fact that this woman was a psychopath and therefore she had no feelings. Like, I think there's a good way to do that, and I just don't think this book did it justice. But I don't know, maybe that's because I've read similar books to this already and I'm just like, okay, a bit over it. So those are two like minor points that I'm just like, okay, fine. The bit where I just thought of where the book went south for me was when they saw the photo ID and realised it was Florence. Where he realised it was Florence, and you know, they had their killer. For me, I feel like that wouldn't have happened. I mean, I want to say that wouldn't have happened in real life, but I feel like this killer was so meticulous with everything that she did. She was not getting caught, like, and I don't feel like she would have rented out this apartment in her name, knowing it had her photo ID, and then committed a crime next door, and then committed the crime downstairs, knowing that it could all be tied back to her. Because even if you rent it out, obviously they're going to look at who owns the overall house. So I just don't believe she would have been that sloppy. Like, the thing with psychopaths and sociopaths is they're very clever. So I just feel like, for me, that plot doesn't work because I just don't think she would have been that stupid. The other part for me that was really the downfall was the fact that she killed herself. I don't really know what a psychopath would do in that situation. Maybe they would just kill themselves, because you always sort of see these sort of shootouts that end with the person committing suicide. So maybe she would kill herself, but I guess for me that really killed the story, because I was just like, oh, like, we know it's her and she committed the crimes and now she's dead. Like, what's the justice in that? So for me, yeah, I really didn't like that bit of the story. And also what I didn't like is you don't know at what point she realised who Detective Dan was. So I think it would have been great to sort of have that perspective of when she realised it. Was it after their first date, their second date? I did think it was, I think I do also know when she did realise, because she was asking Dan a lot of questions about how his wife died, and he said it was an accident, things like that. And this book is set in London, by the way, so I feel like in these days so many things are easily, like, you can easily find out information on Google. So if it's been a horrific crime or it's been an accident, like, there's something out there about it. So I felt like the minute he gave that away, she would be searching up about it, because she's a psychopath and like she's quite meticulous in what she does. Like, of course she's going to look up and see who this man is. So maybe that's the point that she realised, but for me it wasn't clear that it was the point that she realised. And I just thought once she realised she would have been a lot more clever. I just don't understand, if she knew who he was all along, why she wasn't a lot more clever about this, and why, you know, she wasn't more sharpish about this. I don't know, maybe she just thought, this is it and I can't be bothered to do this anymore. But there were just no signs leading towards that, and it was just really random. I found it very interesting, very gripping. It made me want to carry on reading it. However, there were just some plot holes for me that I was just like, I don't think that works. I think what would have been more interesting is if Rebecca like got away, so that in the next episode, in the next series, like, it would still be sort of a hunt for her, but then another criminal introduced. I actually thought that's where it was going, but I don't read a lot of thrillers, so I don't know if this is just really common to happen in thrillers, and I'm just like, oh, I'm really disappointed. Nevertheless, it was a really good book, and I'm pretty sure I gave this a 3 out of 5 because I did like this book. It had some downfalls and some plot holes for me, but overall it was enjoyable and it kept me wanting to read more. I think that's the bit that I really like about it. I was flicking through that book because I really wanted to know what happened. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the book. Let me know if you've read the book and if you had any sort of thoughts. I'm currently reading another thriller. Again, that book has just gone south for me now that I sort of know the catch and the plot line and everything like that. I'm just like, well, this is a bit crap. I have so many ideas in my head for sort of different content that I want to do, so stay tuned. I'll be doing loads of different content, or loads of different types of videos and reviewing books as well, but I'm just going to review the books as I go. So I'm either going to do a book review or sort of sit down and do like, I'm currently reading this, then I'm currently reading that. I actually only tend to read one book at a time, so I think book reviews is the way I'm going to go, but probably do some book hauls as well and just, yeah, see where this channel takes me. So I hope you enjoyed this review. If you have any questions, just let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to my social media channels, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!